Epochs!
Heraclius, from an administrative perspective, also transforms or ushers in the period whereby the official language of the empire changes from Latin to Greek. There's a recognition that the majority ethnic group and the governing elite in the East Roman Empire is Greek rather than sort of Latin or Italic. And so therefore Greek becomes the official state language, which for me sort of does provide that sensible, rational idea of the hinge point between what is the old, remnant East Roman part of the imperial Roman project and what is this new sort of more Hellenic, proto-medieval East Roman Byzantine Empire centered around Constantinople. And that, for me, Heraclius does provide that, and I suppose for most other people who would agree, provides that pivot point.
A lot of their enemies, or even themselves, they call themselves Greeks.
Hellenikoi, yeah.
Yeah, right. And they're speaking Greek, and their enemies often call them Greek. But then also, though, at the same time, they're insisting they are Romans. They're insisting they are the direct... they're the Roman... It's the Roman Empire, and they're the Roman Emperor, and all that sort of thing. Because there's a classic history nerds discussion is the Eastern Roman Empire Roman or Greek? And I always feel like the answer is, without just being a complete cop-out, that the answer is it's a bit complicated.
It's a bit complicated.
It's sort of both at the same time. Well, it depends what period you're talking about.
It's a bit complicated, and it's elements of both
in different ways. Yeah. Well, that's the true answer. Because
because the thing is like
both.
From a standpoint of, say, ethnogenesis and that topic, right, is that obviously the Greeks as a populace and as an elite that are present in the empire, they are the majority by some measure. They hold power in the cities. They're for the most part the governing elite, with the exception of Anatolia. You have the presence of Armenians and a few other disparate groups, but the language is Greek. The patriarch is a Greek figure who governs essentially over a Hellenized, Orthodox, religious, body. And the medieval Greek is an evolution of Koine Greek not Koine Greek of the common classical Greek, and so that's true. So the people who make that point are correct, but then also they didn't stop being citizens of Rome, of the empire. The capital moves from Rome to, Ravenna and Milan, but it does ultimately move to Constantinople, and the Senate relocates from Rome to Constantinople. They don't stop being citizens of that entity. East Rome, as we understand it, is the administrative, political, bureaucratic, governing, and military continuation of that same entity. So to actually have the goal to say they aren't Romans,
that's not. It's incorrect to say that.
So really, I feel like both are simultaneously true.
Right. That's sort of the real honest answer.
Yeah.
I feel like if I might be wrong in this, but I feel like if you were quantum leap...
Sorry to interrupt, but not to quibble. See, like Rome is a city, right? And Romanitas and the idea of Romanness is obviously a concept, but the Roman people are Italic Latins.
Yeah.
So that's the actual ethnos, right? And that's where I think a lot of people get confused.
And that's not really the people that populated Constantinople. I was going to say, if you quantum leaped down into sort of 10th century Constantinople, and you didn't necessarily know where you were, you weren't able to sort of read the architecture all that well, you just quantum leaped down, you would just assume you was in a Greek empire.
Yeah, literally.
People are speaking Greek. The people are basically Greek.
They look Greek, they sound Greek.
They're writing in Greek.
Yeah.
You would be like, well, this is some sort of Grecian empire I'm in here. You would think that.
Yeah.
But then everything you just said about the continuation of the Roman Empire is just absolutely true. And you can't ignore that. So I feel like when people have an argument and one's insisting they're just Romans, one's insisting they're just Greeks, it's like, come on. It is possible to have a mixture, really, of these things.
And it does present a historical anomaly insofar that, obviously in our present day and age, 2025, these are complicated questions, and we often wrestle with, what is identity and what's, what is to be X, Y, Z. But the interesting thing is that the Romans successfully Romanized a lot of groups, and a lot of groups became Latin speaking, and then after Constantine, they became sort of Western Rite Christian, that adhered to Rome. But the Romans, I suppose in a way, they kind of do Romanize the Greeks, but it's sort of a symbiotic reciprocal affair, whereas the Romans do send their sons to be educated in Rhodes and in Athens, and the Romans, many of the Roman elites speak Greek and read Greek, and Greek identity and language actually survives throughout this period and in fact flourishes. So then when the Latin portions of the empire are lost, there is actually and this is why Heraclius does it, is that there's a sort of a resurgence of Greek language. There are a large number of people, probably millions, who do speak Greek, who write Greek, who are conversant in Greek. And I mean, Greek was the lingua franca of the East even before Rome, the Roman Republic arrived. In the time of Scipio and Sulla and Licinius and Pompey. But large parts of the East still speak Greek, and so that wasn't lost, and it was actually nurtured by the Romans. And for me, that provides a really, really unique example in history of that being the case.
It springs to mind that in the age, it's just in like the age of the first Caesars. It would be in the East. It would be that Latin is sort of the language of government and bureaucracy and law,
and the military,
and everyone else is speaking and writing Greek. So never went away. It never went away. So it's not surprising that
you can imagine, like on some dockyard in like Corinth or Athens or something, there's some Roman, bureaucrat, like Salve citizen, or Salve Kiwis, and then the Greek person says Kalimera to them,
all right.
Both things would have been said at once,
We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please head over to lotuseaters.com for the full unabridged video.